It was a brisk autumn morning in Seattle, the kind of day when the golden leaves danced lazily along the sidewalks and the scent of roasted coffee beans filled the air. Maya Thompson, owner of the tiny but cozy Bean and Blossom coffee shop, was juggling orders, steam from the espresso machine curling around her like a cloud of warm comfort. Maya loved her life, simple as it was. The shop was small, but it had heart. Locals came not just for the coffee, but for her warmth and the cheerful atmosphere she curated. Yet today, the bell above the door jingled with a peculiar sense of disruption. Standing there was a man in a crisp, tailored navy suit, perfectly polished shoes, and an expression that screamed, "I don't belong in a coffee shop, but I'm here anyway." His hair was impeccable, dark eyes scanning the room like he was assessing its value, or maybe judging it. "Hi," Maya greeted cautiously, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Can I help you?" The man gave a polite nod, but there was a subtle edge to his demeanor. "I'm looking for Maya Thompson." "That's me." She raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "Damien Blackwood," he said smoothly, "CEO of Blackwood Enterprises. And I have a proposition for you." Maya blinked. "A proposition?" "Yes," Damien continued, producing a sleek leather folder from his briefcase. "I own a property downtown that requires daily supervision. It's part of a project I'm developing, and I'm looking for someone reliable, someone grounded. From what I've heard, you fit the description." Maya's mind went through rapid-fire questions. Daily supervision. Properly paying. CEO. Why me? She frowned. "You mean, you want me to, what exactly?" Damien smiled faintly, the kind of smile that suggested both patience and authority. "Simply put, I need you to manage this space, oversee minor repairs, and ensure everything runs smoothly. I'll compensate you generously, of course." Generous was tempting. Tempting enough to override the creeping doubt in her gut. "I don't even know what this property looks like. Is it big?" "It's sizable, yes," Damien replied, almost as if reading her mind. "But don't worry. You won't be alone. My assistant will provide you with the keys and instructions." Maya hesitated. Her life revolved around her coffee shop, her loyal regulars, and her quirky little routines. Stepping into a world of CEOs and corporate buildings seemed, well, complicated. But the paycheck could fund a long-overdue renovation for Bean and Blossom. "All right," she said, finally. "I'll do it. But only because I need the money, and only temporarily." Damien's smile widened slightly. "Temporary is fine. I anticipate it won't be dull." The next morning, Maya arrived at the downtown property, a sleek loft building with modern glass facades and a minimalist aesthetic. Damien was already there, arms crossed, watching her approach with a gaze that made her feel scrutinized from head to toe. "Good morning, Ms. Thompson," he said, stepping forward. "Welcome to your temporary domain." Maya looked around. The space was immaculate, sterile even. She turned back to him. "I take it your idea of daily supervision involves..." "What?" "Sitting in an office all day." "Not exactly," Damien replied, a hint of amusement in his voice. "You'll be interacting with staff, checking systems, and ensuring the property maintains my standards. Oh, and occasionally, you'll have to handle unexpected incidents." "Incidents?" Maya echoed, trying to keep her voice neutral. Damien smirked. "You'll see." Over the next few days, Maya discovered just how unpredictable her new job could be. A delivery mix-up left a mountain of coffee beans from a rival shop in the lobby. The elevators broke down mid-afternoon, stranding tenants on multiple floors. And somehow, a stray cat found its way into the rooftop garden, turning Damien's perfectly curated space into chaos. Through it all, Damien hovered nearby, offering tips, corrections, and the occasional eyebrow raise that made Maya want to roll her eyes, but didn't. Despite his pristine appearance and stiff demeanor, he wasn't unkind. In fact, she noticed he had a meticulous attention to detail, a dry sense of humor, and a subtle warmth that crept into his otherwise formidable presence. One evening, after wrangling a particularly stubborn set of HVAC repairs, Maya slumped into the office chair. Damien leaned against the desk, watching her. "You handled that better than I expected," he admitted. Maya groaned. "Better than you expected? That's faint praise." Not faint, Damien corrected. Realistic. Most people in your position would have panicked or quit. Maya looked up at him, eyebrows raised. And you? Most CEOs would have done what? Sent an army of staff, he said dryly. Or yelled at someone. But you just solved it. For the first time, their eyes met in a moment that lingered longer than it should have. The chaos of the day faded, replaced by a quiet tension, a spark neither of them fully acknowledged. As Maya left the property that evening, she couldn't shake the thought of Damien standing there, the fading sunlight catching the angles of his face, his expression unreadable yet compelling. This job was supposed to be temporary. Just a paycheck, just a few weeks. But somehow she knew, deep down, that it might be the start of something far more complicated, far more interesting. And Damien, he watched her leave, a faint smirk on his lips. For the first time in years, the order and control he craved had met someone unpredictable, and he liked it. The next morning, Maya arrived at the downtown property earlier than usual, clutching her oversized tote bag full of notebooks, pens, and, of course, her emergency stash of caramel lattes. She had decided that if she was going to survive this temporary CEO supervision job, coffee was essential. Damien was already there, leaning against the sleek marble counter, scanning a tablet with a furrowed brow. His tie was slightly loosened, a rare sight, and for some reason, it made him look both intimidating and approachable at the same time. "Good morning," Maya greeted, trying to sound cheerful despite the lingering tension from yesterday. Damien didn't look up immediately. "Morning," he replied, voice even but low. Then, noticing her latte cup peeking from the tote, he raised an eyebrow. "You brought coffee?" Maya grinned. "Essential. Trust me, you'll need it too." He glanced at her, a faint smirk forming. "I'll take that as a hint that today will be eventful." Eventful didn't even begin to cover it. The first task was simple, or so Maya thought. She had to coordinate with the janitorial staff to ensure the lobby floors were polished before the morning crowd. She approached the team cheerfully, only for a bucket of soapy water to slip out of one worker's hands, drenching her shoes and the bottom of her skirt. Damien, standing nearby, caught the scene perfectly. His dark eyes flicked from the spilled water to Maya, and instead of offering a reprimand or shaking his head in annoyance, he actually chuckled, a deep, rare laugh that made Maya pause mid-sigh. "Nice entrance," he quipped, "though I suspect the floors weren't meant to be worn like a pair of shoes." Maya glared, but couldn't hide her laugh. "Noted. Maybe you should demonstrate, Mr. CEO." "I think I'll leave the water acrobatics to you," Damien replied dryly, but the corner of his mouth twitched as if amused. The morning continued in a blur of small disasters. A printer jammed spectacularly, a delivery of flowers intended for a client was dumped in the lobby by mistake, and a group of construction workers accidentally blocked the emergency exit. Through it all, Damien remained a constant presence, offering guidance, occasionally teasing, and sometimes just watching with an expression that was surprisingly soft when he thought no one noticed. During a brief lull, they found themselves alone in the rooftop garden, a small oasis of greenery above the city skyline. Maya leaned against the railing, finally catching her breath. Damien stepped beside her, silent for a moment, letting the city's early sunlight cast a warm glow over them. "You're handling this better than I imagined," Damien said quietly. "Most people would have fled by now." Maya smirked, brushing a leaf from her hair. "Maybe I like chaos. Or maybe I just like proving you wrong." His smirk deepened. "That's dangerous. Especially for someone like me." Maya's eyebrow rose. "Oh, and why's that?" "You're unpredictable," he said simply. "And I don't handle unpredictability well." There was a pause, a rare, heavy silence that carried more than words could convey. Maya felt a flutter in her chest, a mix of amusement and something more. Damien, for all his poise and control, was revealing a crack in his otherwise polished facade, and she couldn't help but be drawn to it. The moment was broken by the distant sound of a loud crash from inside the building. Both spun around, ready for whatever new disaster awaited them. Maya groaned. "You know, I didn't sign up for superhero duties. Coffee shop management was complicated enough." Damien chuckled again. "Consider this managerial training with added adrenaline." They ran back inside, side by side, and Maya realized something she hadn't admitted before. This job was exhausting, chaotic, and completely outside her comfort zone. But with Damien there, even in the middle of disaster, it was strangely thrilling. As the day ended and the sun dipped behind the skyline, casting a golden glow over the building, Maya and Damien shared a quiet moment by the lobby windows, sipping their finally untouched lattes. Maya laughed softly. "You know, I never thought I'd spend my mornings managing a skyscraper with a billionaire who makes my coffee runs look like a battle scene." Damien's eyes met hers, a rare softness in their depths. "And yet, somehow we survive. Together." Maya smiled, feeling the warmth of both the coffee and the moment. She couldn't deny it. This was going to be an adventure, and perhaps the beginning of something far more complicated and exciting than either of them had expected. The following morning, Maya arrived at the downtown property with a determined stride and a fresh cup of her signature vanilla latte. She had quickly learned that surviving a day in Damien Blackwood's meticulously curated building required caffeine, patience, and a sense of humor. Damien was already there, reviewing reports on a sleek tablet, his dark hair slightly tousled from sleep. "You're early," he noted, glancing up with a raised eyebrow. "I prefer proactive chaos management," Maya replied, setting her latte down on the counter. "Trust me, it works better than reactive panic." Damien smirked, a rare, almost playful expression. "I'm intrigued. Do continue." Their morning started innocently enough, checking maintenance logs, coordinating with staff, and ensuring deliveries were properly scheduled. But of course, nothing went as planned. First came the espresso machine. A new delivery had arrived overnight, and the staff had attempted to set it up without instructions. When Maya turned it on, the machine exploded a fountain of frothy milk and coffee grounds across the lobby floor. Damien, standing a few feet away, barely dodged the mess, and for the first time, Maya saw him truly flustered. "Seriously," he exclaimed, brushing coffee from his sleeve. "Is this normal?" Maya, trying not to laugh, muttered, "In my world, yes. Welcome to Bean and Blossom standards." Next, a delivery truck loaded with office supplies somehow backed into the lobby doors, causing a domino effect of falling boxes. Paper clips, folders, and a suspiciously heavy potted plant scattered across the polished floor. Damien's meticulously polished shoes were nearly crushed, and he let out an uncharacteristic groan. Maya rushed to help, ducking under the hanging plant as it teetered dangerously. "Careful!" she shouted, grabbing a corner of the pot. Damien caught the other side, and for a brief, awkward moment, they were nose to nose, holding the precarious plant like a lifeline. Both froze, eyes locking. Damien's gaze softened in a way Maya hadn't seen before, almost as if the chaos had peeled back his polished exterior to reveal something human. "Thank you," he said quietly, his voice low, almost intimate. "You have reflexes." Maya rolled her eyes, trying to mask the sudden flutter in her chest. "Lucky, I guess. Or maybe just trained by years of dodging disasters in a coffee shop." By mid-afternoon, things had settled slightly, giving them a rare moment of calm. Damien leaned against the balcony railing, sipping his coffee. Maya joined him, adjusting her apron and wiping stray coffee grounds from her hands. "You handled everything today remarkably," Damien said, eyes on her. "Even the mess." Maya smiled, sipping her latte. "Thanks. I'm starting to think this job isn't just about managing your property. It's an adventure in patience and improvisation." Damien chuckled softly. "And here I thought managing a skyscraper would be straightforward. But somehow, you make chaos seem tolerable." There was a pause. The kind of pause where neither knew whether to speak or just enjoy the moment. The city below was alive with movement, but on this balcony, it felt like they were in their own little world. Two people from completely different lives, brought together by coffee, chaos, and coincidence. Finally, Maya broke the silence. "You know, for a billionaire CEO, you're surprisingly easy to talk to when the building isn't exploding." Damien smirked. "I'll take that as a compliment, I think." The afternoon ended with another minor disaster. A rogue pigeon somehow found its way into the lobby, flapping wildly and scattering paper across Damien's pristine desk. Maya groaned, reaching to corral the bird, while Damien simply shook his head, a fond, almost amused expression crossing his face. By the time they wrapped up, both were laughing, the tension of the day dissolving in the shared absurdity. For Maya, it was becoming clear. This job might be chaotic, exhausting, and unpredictable, but it was also strangely enjoyable. And Damien? He found himself noticing her, the way she moved through the chaos, the quick wit she displayed even in the mess, the warmth that seemed to radiate despite the pandemonium. For the first time in years, he felt intrigued. As Maya left for the evening, she looked back at Damien standing in the lobby, and for a fleeting second, she caught him watching her with an expression that made her heart skip. This job was supposed to be temporary, she thought. Just a paycheck, just a few weeks. But both of them knew, without admitting it aloud, that something far more complicated and far more interesting was brewing between coffee cups and calamity. It was nearing evening when Maya realized she had spent almost 12 hours straight at the downtown property. She leaned against the counter, wiping sweat from her brow, and let out a long sigh. The day had been a whirlwind of misdelivered packages, a leaking sprinkler system, and a particularly feisty cat that had somehow made its way into the lobby. Damien Blackwood, ever composed yet undeniably human, appeared from the elevator with a rare, relaxed smile. "You're still here," he remarked, raising an eyebrow. "I assumed you would have left hours ago." Maya chuckled, tossing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "I couldn't leave with the chaos still lingering. Besides," she hesitated, realizing how ridiculous it sounded, "I like seeing things under control by the end of the day." Damien's smirk softened into something warmer, almost amused. "You have a strange sense of satisfaction from chaos, don't you?" "You have no idea," Maya said with a playful grin. "I manage it. I survive it. And sometimes, I even enjoy it." A loud crash interrupted their banter. Damien's eyes narrowed. "What now?" Maya groaned, heading toward the source. It was the espresso machine again. Somehow, in the midst of her absence during a brief restroom break, the new technician had attempted an upgrade, resulting in coffee splattering everywhere. Damien stepped forward to help, and without thinking, Maya grabbed a towel and started wiping down the counter beside him. For the first time, their hands brushed, not accidentally, but lingering just long enough to make Maya's chest flutter. She tried to look away, busying herself with wiping up coffee, but she couldn't ignore the warmth of Damien's touch. "Thank you," Damien said quietly, his voice low and intimate. "For everything today." Maya forced a casual laugh. "Just part of the job, Mr. CEO." He raised an eyebrow, a teasing edge to his gaze. "Still calling me Mr. CEO?" "Still," she said firmly, though her cheeks flushed slightly. The rest of the evening was spent navigating the building's minor disasters: a locked elevator, a stuck air vent, and a rogue delivery drone that had gone haywire. Through it all, they moved like an oddly synchronized team, bickering occasionally but always covering each other's mistakes. The combination of stress, laughter, and the occasional accidental touch built a tension neither could deny. By the time the city lights shimmered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Damien and Maya found themselves alone on the rooftop. The wind was brisk, but the view of the skyline made the exhaustion worthwhile. "You handled today remarkably," Damien said, leaning slightly against the railing. "Even with all the unplanned events." Maya smiled, sipping the last of her lukewarm latte. "Well, someone had to keep this place from becoming a disaster zone. I guess it's my specialty." "And you do it well," Damien replied, his gaze lingering on her. "I appreciate it. More than I expected." There was a quiet pause, filled only by the sounds of the city below. Maya felt a strange flutter in her stomach. Something about Damien, the way he noticed details, the rare softness beneath his composed exterior, made her heart race. "Careful," she whispered, more to herself than him. "You might be growing on me." Damien tilted his head, a faint smirk crossing his lips. "I think I've noticed the same about you." The breeze carried a silence, comfortable yet electrifying. Neither moved closer, but both felt it, the undeniable pull that had been building through spilled coffee, late-night chaos, and shared laughter. Finally, Maya glanced at her watch, realizing it was nearly midnight. "I should go," she said softly, reluctant to break the moment. Damien's smile softened, almost regretful. "Yes, probably a good idea. Until tomorrow, then." "Until tomorrow," she agreed, lingering a moment longer before stepping toward the elevator. As she descended, Maya couldn't help but glance back at Damien standing on the rooftop, city lights reflecting in his eyes. Something was changing. Between the chaos, the coffee, and late nights, a connection had formed. One neither of them could ignore for much longer. The morning light streamed through the glass facade of Damien Blackwood's downtown property, highlighting the chaos that had somehow multiplied overnight. Maya groaned as she surveyed the lobby. A toppled coat rack, coffee stains creeping across the marble floor, and a small fountain that was inexplicably leaking. Damien was already there, impeccably dressed as always, with an unreadable expression. He spotted Maya and smirked. "You really do have a talent for finding disaster," he remarked dryly. Maya rolled her eyes but smiled. "It finds me. I'm just the lucky one who has to deal with it." Their day began with a series of minor calamities. A package of pastries meant for a corporate meeting had been delivered to the wrong floor, the janitor's cart had broken a window, and somehow, a confused dog had wandered into the building, leaving muddy paw prints everywhere. Through it all, Damien stayed nearby, offering dry commentary, occasionally stepping in to help, and sometimes just watching with amusement. His presence was oddly comforting, even as the chaos continued. During a brief lull, they sat in the rooftop garden, sipping hastily made lattes from a portable machine Maya had brought. The golden sunset cast a warm glow, and for a moment, the city's hum faded into the background. "You know," Damien began, his tone uncharacteristically soft, "I didn't expect to enjoy having someone manage this property, but you make it bearable." Maya laughed lightly. "Bearable, huh? That's faint praise." "No," he corrected, meeting her gaze. "Rare praise. Most people would have quit after the first day. You stay, and you do it well. And," he hesitated, then added, "I enjoy your company." Maya's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected a confession from the typically stoic CEO, and for a moment, she was speechless. "Your company," she echoed, trying to sound casual, though her voice trembled slightly. "Yes," Damien said, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Even with the chaos, even with the coffee stains and the accidents, I like being around you." Maya felt warmth spread through her chest, and a smile slowly formed. "Well, I could say the same," she admitted, "even if your suit isn't exactly coffee-friendly." They laughed, the tension of the day melting into a shared moment of connection. It was fleeting, yet powerful, the kind of intimacy that came from mutual respect, trust, and a hint of growing affection. Their laughter was interrupted by a sudden crash from the lobby. Maya groaned. "Of course." Damien rose, brushing off his suit. "Shall we see what disaster awaits?" Together, they ran toward the lobby, navigating toppled boxes, slippery floors, and the occasional startled employee. The chaos, once exhausting, had become a shared adventure, and for Maya, a strange thrill. By evening, as they finally tidied the last of the mess, Damien looked at her with a soft smile. "You're amazing, Maya. I don't think I've met anyone like you." Maya blushed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Thanks. You're not so bad yourself, Mr. CEO." He smirked, shaking his head. "Still formal, huh? You still smirk too much," she teased. Their laughter echoed through the quiet building, blending with the city's lights outside. For the first time, both realized that this temporary job was no longer just about responsibilities or paychecks. It was about moments like this, shared between coffee cups and chaos, that neither of them wanted to end. As Maya left for the night, she caught Damien's gaze one last time. There was a softness there, a rare vulnerability, and maybe, just maybe, something more. It was just past midnight when Maya realized she had somehow agreed to stay late at the property yet again. A minor plumbing issue had turned into a full-blown leak, sending a small fountain of water cascading down the lobby floors. Damien was already there, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, and a rare twinkle in his eye. "You really do attract chaos," he remarked, watching Maya navigate the wet floor in her sneakers. "I don't attract it," Maya replied, dodging a puddle. "I survive it. Sometimes with style." The night's misadventures escalated quickly. The broken pipe sprayed water unpredictably, soaking both of them more than once. A loose floor panel nearly tripped Damien, and a startled raccoon somehow made its way inside from the rooftop garden, sending papers, coffee cups, and half-finished maintenance reports flying everywhere. Through it all, Maya and Damien moved together seamlessly. She'd grab a bucket, he'd patch a pipe, and somehow they avoided major injury. The adrenaline, the laughter, and the ridiculousness of the situation drew them closer, their hands brushing more than once, sparks of electricity igniting in every accidental touch. At one particularly chaotic moment, Maya slipped on a wet patch. Damien caught her just in time, pulling her against his chest. Their faces were inches apart, and for the first time, the playful banter vanished, replaced by a charged silence. "Careful," Damien whispered, his voice low and intimate. "I can't have you getting hurt." Maya's heart raced. I'm fine," she stammered, though the warmth of his body and the closeness made her pulse quicken. "You sure?" he asked, his gaze locked on hers. The faint glow of the emergency lights reflected in his eyes, making them look almost golden in the dim room. "I'm sure," she replied, though her voice was barely above a whisper. The raccoon, seemingly oblivious to the tension, scuttled across the floor, knocking over a cup of coffee. Both Maya and Damien laughed despite themselves, the moment breaking the intensity, but the spark remained, undeniable and lingering. Once the water was contained and the raccoon safely escorted out, they finally collapsed onto a nearby couch, drenched, exhausted, and laughing. Damien handed her a towel. "You've got coffee grounds on your sleeve," he noted, though his eyes didn't leave hers. "I think you're more of a mess than I am," Maya teased, brushing his shoulder. "You might be right," Damien admitted, his voice soft. "But somehow, this chaos feels right. With you." Maya's cheeks flushed. She wanted to tease him back, but the sincerity in his eyes made her words catch in her throat. Instead, she smiled, leaning back slightly, letting herself enjoy the rare moment of peace in the middle of the madness. The clock ticked past 1 in the morning, but neither of them seemed to notice. They talked quietly, sharing stories, dreams, and laughter, their bond growing stronger with every passing moment. The chaos that had initially brought them together now gave way to something gentler, more intimate, a connection neither had expected but both welcomed. By the time Maya finally left, the property was still far from perfect, but something else had been repaired. An invisible thread had formed between her and Damien. One built not just on coffee, chaos, and laughter, but on trust, understanding, and a hint of romance neither could deny. As she walked out into the cool Seattle night, she glanced back at Damien standing in the lobby, a small smile playing on his lips. And for the first time, she felt certain of one thing. This temporary job had become something far more permanent and far more exciting than she ever imagined. The morning sunlight streamed through the downtown property's glass facade, casting a warm glow over a surprisingly calm lobby. After weeks of chaos, midnight mishaps, and coffee-stained disasters, Maya felt a rare sense of accomplishment. The property was finally under control. Well, as controlled as it could ever be with Damien Blackwood's involvement. She sipped her vanilla latte, savoring the calm before the next wave of urban unpredictability. The door chimed behind her, and she looked up to see Damien entering, holding a fresh cup of espresso, her favorite. "Good morning," he said, handing it to her with a small, genuine smile. "Thought you might need this." Maya accepted the cup, feeling a warmth beyond the coffee. "You remembered." "I remember a lot of things," Damien replied smoothly, though there was a softness in his eyes she hadn't seen before. The morning was peaceful, almost surreal. No deliveries were exploding, no cats or raccoons were wandering in, and the elevators functioned properly. Maya couldn't help but notice how calm and domestic the moment felt, despite the towering city outside. As they walked through the lobby together, Damien suddenly stopped, turning to face her. "Maya, I need to say something." She looked up, curiosity piqued. "What is it?" "I know this was supposed to be temporary. A job, a favor, nothing more." He paused, searching her eyes. "But somewhere along the way, it became more. You became more. And I can't ignore it anymore. I like you. More than I expected, more than I should have." Maya felt her heart leap. "You like me?" she whispered, a mix of disbelief and joy. "Yes," Damien said firmly, stepping closer. "I like you, your courage, your humor, your chaos-handling skills, everything. And I want to be more than just your employer. I want us." Maya blinked, her chest fluttering. After weeks of spilled coffee, late nights, and shared laughter, she realized she felt the same. "Damien, I like you too. I think I have, for a while now." He grinned, a playful yet tender smile. "Finally admitting it, huh?" "Finally," she laughed softly. "It took a lot of chaos, but yes." Before either could speak again, a loud crash erupted from the corner of the lobby. The espresso machine had somehow tipped over, spilling coffee everywhere. Both groaned, then laughed. "Some things never change," Maya said, wiping coffee from her sleeve. "No," Damien agreed, brushing off his suit. "But at least now, we can face them, together." They spent the rest of the morning cleaning up the last of the mess, joking and teasing as they worked side by side. For the first time, Maya didn't feel overwhelmed by the chaos. With Damien there, every mishap became a shared adventure. As the sun reached its zenith, they finally sat down on the rooftop balcony, sipping fresh coffee in peace. Damien reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "I suppose this is our happy ending?" he asked, eyes warm. Maya smiled, squeezing his hand. "It is. Coffee, chaos, and all. And I wouldn't have it any other way." Damien laughed softly, leaning closer. "Neither would I." The city buzzed below, oblivious to the quiet romance blooming above it. In a world of spilled lattes, raccoons, and midnight leaks, Maya and Damien had found something rare and enduring. Love built on laughter, trust, and a little chaos. And as they watched the skyline together, hand in hand, they knew this was just the beginning. A life full of coffee, chaos, and happily ever after. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Until we meet again in the next story, take care and keep the magic of imagination alive.